Hello, my name is Matthew, and I just read The Adventure of the Bruce-Partington Plans by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This is a part of my read-along series and book club with Steve Donahue. We're reading murder mysteries in the month of March, and we're reading all of the Sherlock Holmes short stories. And much to my delight, this short story, this case, um, brings about another appearance of Mycroft. So Sherlock's smarter older brother, which I just love. It's one of my favorite appearances. It's in the Greek Interpreter where Mycroft makes his first appearance. It's a great interaction, great dynamic, and I just think it was just it's so ingenious when this character is introduced. So ingenious on Doyle's part to make him the smarter older brother, but also lazy. He doesn't run around town solving cases. He goes to the Diogenes Club, and he's a big, hulking, corpulent man with a very serious, striking, furrowed brow. And he sits at the Diogenes Club and he reads the paper. And in that story, we're told that he lives a rather idle life. But he can read the paper and solve all sorts of cases like Sherlock if he bothered to. And it's beneath him. And this story, and also another aspect as far as decision making, it's also brilliant just to use Mycroft sparingly. I believe this is the only other. I believe there's only two cases or short stories where Mycroft has, where he's on stage and has a full presence in the story. I do know in. I noticed in the. Is it the Final Problem? One of the ones where Sherlock had died. It was either when he died or his reappearance, where he makes a comment that Mycroft had given him a ride somewhere. But other than that, Mycroft isn't this character that starts recurring in every story, even though he's great. And the fact that he doesn't come up very often, I think, just adds to the excitement of when he shows up. And as far as an introduction of a character, their entry into the story at the beginning, Sherlock's prologue, as he's talking to Watson, is just one of the grandest openings. I mean, he's about to have Mycroft enter into the door, and he describes it as Jupiter descending, because a few things. Mycroft does not depart from his daily routine. He goes to work. He goes home. He has his club. Very strict regiment, and he's also lazy. We're told. So it's a very big deal to Sherlock that he's just gotten a note from Mycroft that he's on his way over, and it's this thick, soupy, foggy London day, and it's been foggy for days and days and days. And Sherlock, prior to knowing that Mycroft is on his way over, was just having a fit of boredom and at his wit's end, not having cases to solve. And he's even talking about these foggy days and saying, like, what is wrong with these London criminals? Like, this is the time. Like, and he's talking about how many murders there could be because you can't see 2 feet ahead of you. And where are all the murders? Sherlock talks about how he would do as a criminal and how fierce he would be and all those things. But Mycroft is on his way over, and he's explaining to Watson this is a very big deal for two reasons. One, he doesn't depart from his routine. The other is his profession. And Watson says, well, you said he has like a small government office, a small government position, and maybe like a low level department or something. And Sherlock says, well, I didn't know you as well then as I do now. And so I wouldn't say that Mycroft works for the British government as much as he is the British government. Amazing. And Sherlock gives this explanation, and Mycroft is more brilliant than Sherlock at all of the deductive reasoning and mental capacity and that quick, amazing ability to retain and also make connections. And so there's all these departments in the British government. They're always working on these plans, and there's all these specialists that work in the different departments, and everything passes Mycroft's desk or eye, and he's described as omnipotent. So you can have a specialist in the Navy or the Army or whatever department that whatever kind of departments governments have, and he knows all of them, and can immediately put together the full picture of all the departments and all of the British government, and just in a moment make decisions that are the right decisions. We're told, and so to say that he's incredibly useful or vital would be an understatement. He is the British government, which is great. And so those two things combined makes it alarming and exciting that Mycroft would be on his way over. It clearly has to be something important. And it's great because then we get this moment where Sherlock and Watson are trying to figure out what could it be? And so they're flying through the newspapers, and there's petty thefts and maybe a burglary and a mugging, and Sherlock's going, well, none of these. And they come across a man that died or was murdered in on the train tracks. He must have been pushed out of the carriage door and is laying there dead on the train tracks. And they figure all this stuff out. By the time Mycroft gets there, they somehow know which case that they're talking about, and all those things. And it's just those moments of Sherlock figuring things out. Those examples are some of my favorites. Favorite aspects of all these short stories. The chemistry between Watson and Sherlock, and when the two of them are just in the apartment doing something. It's great. And so Mycroft arrives with Lestrade, and they start talking about these plans to build a submarine. And they're going to build this submarine that's the best submarine, and it's a big secret, and there's 30 different patents and all this stuff about this really special submarine. And these documents had been taken. It was 10 pages of technical documents had been stolen from a high security government office that was in charge of holding the papers in a case. And so this man that is now had been found dead on the train tracks, 7 of the 10 papers were found in his pocket. And this person worked at this office. He was someone that had worked there for 10 years and was reliable, trustworthy. It was a huge surprise that this dependable, rather honest person is now found dead with these papers in his pocket, and then all the Sherlockian and Mycroftian um, banter and figuring out just little details and figuring stuff out. He didn't have a train ticket, but he had theater tickets. He only has seven of the papers. What was he? How did he get on the train? Because he doesn't have the ticket. Um, if he was going to sell them, why is he also going to the theater? And start figuring stuff out. And either Watson or Sherlock, one of them says to Mycroft, "You're more brilliant than I am, and if this is so important, why don't you take care of it? You're clearly even more capable of it than I am." And Mycroft just says, I at a glance, I can figure out all this stuff. I'm not running around town. I'm not chasing down suspects. I'm not getting on my hands and knees with a magnifying glass. Because Sherlock, you go running around and then report back to me. Just great. Just great. And the story is large scale, high stakes. I had mentioned being slightly disappointed in how off the rails the Adventure of the Red Circle was, and also that other one. Now I can't even remember the names of these things. What was it called? I believe the Wisteria Lodge as well. And this one is off the rails and big, grand, high stakes kind of story. I feel like it was done much better. At the end of the day, we have this great mystery. A man's found with these papers on the train tracks. We get great developments. And like one of those stories where you're kind of locked in a box and you have your gallery of suspects that are being introduced into the story, and you can look around and think, what could it be? This person? Was it this person? Did the person that's found dead, did they really do it? And as you're reading it, and as it starts unfolding, it's satisfying. It feels like we're constantly getting these rewards as an attentive reader, paying attention to the characters, instead of some of these stories that are really good, but totally unpredictable. The way that you get the resolution is just something that's been omitted, totally excluded from the reader until the reveal. In this one, we have a cast of suspects, and you can kind of do your own detective work, and there's details, which is just great. One of the aspects of this is Sherlock. One of the aspects of a detail that kind of turns the events of the story is Sherlock realizing the person was not thrown out of the train and found on the tracks. He was on the roof. He was placed. The man was placed dead on the roof while it was motionless, way down at the other end, somewhere down the line on the tracks. And this particular point had a curve in the. There was a junction and a curve, and so it kind of goes rattling on this curved bend, and the body flew off the top. So it's a singular, unique case, and Sherlock's figuring it out. And so we have a list of suspects, and as the mystery starts unfolding, and parts of the case are getting cleared up, and we're learning more about the world, and the world in the case, the people that work at the department, and people that work at the office, and who's there and who's related, who has families. all those kinds of things. Um, we get the resolution, and it really does feel satisfying. Now, I do feel like um, if anything was missing in this story, is I didn't feel like Mycroft got a payoff. That's not the right way of saying it. The reader didn't get a good payoff with having Mycroft in the story. We had this great entry, Mycroft making his way onto the stage, and we do have him working with Sherlock. They have those great back and forths where they're figuring out the case. Um, I felt like Mycroft could have had a moment at the end um, of some detail um, to show that he's the smarter brother. But it was good, and it was long. This one was a little bit longer than some of these short stories. It didn't read that way. It was just a really intricate story that needed a little bit more time to be told. Very entertaining. Um, so that was The Adventure of the Bruce-Partington Plans. I don't believe Mycroft makes any other major appearances, so I wouldn't mind if you made one more. And yeah, so let me know if you've read it. It's the Bruce-Partington Plans. Let me know if you've read it. Thank you for watching, and leave a comment if you would like, and take care.